showcasing gardens and nature in the valley and beyond. This is Let's Grow There, a WKBN Plus exclusive. Let's dig in. Hello, and welcome back to Let's Grow There. I'm your host, Laurel Stone. When you go out into your backyard, do you see weeds or do you see wealth? It's all a matter of perspective, and my guest here today is going to explain a little bit more for you. Everyone, say hello to Cathi. Cathi is going to tell us a little bit about her business and how she got started with it using things that she collects in the natural world, along with some help from the bees. Cathi, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Cathi RaubCarney. I am the owner and creator of all things Our Farm Skincare. I started my business several years ago after encouraging my brother to start investing with beehives again. My grandfather had bees, and we were concerned about the bee population at the time. And so the family invested in bees, and part of the deal was he got the honey and I got the beeswax. And so I started making some lip balms and lotion bars at that point. And I wanted to do something better than what was already out on the market, something that made my product stand apart from other people's products. And so I really started looking at what we were putting into our bodies and kind of going back to older ways. And I did some research about all the plants that occur naturally around us, native to this area, some herbal medicine, some indigenous medicine, and I found the things that I wanted to use in my products.
For people who are interested in pursuing something like that, did you read books? Did you see things on reels on social media? Where did you get your education?
So a lot of it did come from just a lot of research online about herbal medicine. I do have a couple of books about herbal medicine. And I did follow a couple of social media influencers just to kind of see what they were doing. But my favorite was the nerdy farm wife who does all things natural and herbal.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You hear good and bad about social media, but one of the best things I've found is the farms like this. That not only I use a goat farm for a lot of my products, and it's so cool getting to see the goats, getting to see the fields, and just seeing where your products come from. And this especially, a lot of people don't know this, but some of the things in the products are right in our own backyard. So one of the ones you use is Jewelweed. As a kid growing up, I knew it as poppers, and the only thing I knew about it was that it was fun to squeeze and watch them explode. But the uses of that are far, far more than my little kid mind knew. So go ahead and tell people a little bit about this plant.
So Jewelweed is a companion plant to poison ivy. So wherever you find poison ivy, you're going to find jewelweed nearby. Mostly in the woods, and again, right now, you can find jewelweed right now. It's early in the season for it. It's going to be a little bit harder to identify. But once it does get those droopy orange flowers with the red spots or the dark orange spots, and then it has those bursting seeds, then it's super easy to find. But the thing about jewelweed is it has saponins in it. Saponins are a soap-like substance. So you can take jewelweed and you can break open the stalk of it and you can rub that directly on your affected area. So it acts as a soap to cleanse that area of the poison plant that you've run into. The other thing about jewelweed is it has law zones in it. And law zones are a competitive binding agent. So instead of the poison ivy binding to your skin, the law zones from the jewelweed are going to try to bind to your skin instead.
That's really cool. Now, what part of the plant, so you said inside the stem, do you use a little bit of everything?
So this is jewelweed, you can see. So if you wanted to use it, you would just break open the stem. Mm-hmm. You can just insert your nail or whatever, pull it open, and then you can just rub it on the affected area. When I use this, I infuse it in oil. So first I have to let it dry for several hours to infuse it in oil to make a salve. When I make the soap, I actually get tons of it and I chop it up with some plantain and I make a jewelweed juice. So I let it sit in the refrigerator after I have everything all chopped up. I let it sit in the refrigerator for at least 24 hours and then I drain all of the plant material out of it. And then I use the leftover juice, the jewelweed juice I call it, and that becomes the base of my soap. So you get all of the good stuff from the plant.
Now, do you do all of this in the spring, in the summer, while it is kind of in bloom and save it for the winter? Like, how does that work?
So most of the people who buy jewelweed soap are not buying it in December. They're buying it now. So I have to make enough now that it's going to last through the winter. I don't want to freeze it and risk losing any of the potent goodness of the plant.
And I would think drying it out, like some herbs, I grow catnip and I hang it from my basement rafters to dry. Because it's the juices inside, I would think that that wouldn't be very effective.
Well, you'd be surprised that you can take that it's not going to be the same as fresh, but for a lot of the plant material that I use, once you dry it, you can infuse it in olive oil. Olive oil is really good at drawing out the goodness of those plants. Or if you want to do like a tincture, you would put it in like 90 proof vodka, right? Because the vodka or the olive oil will draw out the good parts of the plant that you want left behind in your product.
Now, another thing you use, and we're still a little bit early in the season to talk about it, is goldenrod. A lot of people driving by the highways in the summer, this one's easier to recognize, I would think.
It is. So you'll find goldenrod growing along roadsides, right along forests. It's very recognizable. It's one of the first signs that fall is coming and summer is ending, those beautiful golden stalks. Goldenrod has alternating leaves, so that's important to remember. Small yellow flowers. And goldenrod is also a saponin, so it also has that cleansing effect. If you were to pull it open, you can use that. Goldenrod is a companion plant to ragweed. And so when everybody thinks that they're allergic to goldenrod, generally they're allergic to ragweed. And goldenrod is the companion plant. It's the helping plant. So it's a natural antihistamine. If you take the goldenrod and you do the infusion in olive oil, then you can make salves or you can make a soap, and it will still have a lot of those good properties. So it has wound healing properties, it has anti-inflammatory properties, and it also is good at fighting acne.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's really interesting. Mm-hmm. So you use it for like a face soap then, a body soap? Do you have to use different things? Because, you know, when you hear about your face, you're like, you want to use things that it depends. Because for me, I get oily, so I use like a non-oily soap. So do you have to do different recipes for something like that?
All of my soaps have different recipes. So, and I have a stinging nettle soap that's also good for acne, but I also have specially designed soaps for face, but you can use them for face or body, or you can use the stinging nettle on your face, or you can use the goldenrod on your face. I think everybody's skin composition is different, and I think that you just need to try them and see what works best for you and then stick with it.
Thank you very much for that. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to dive in a little bit deeper to some of the more things you can find in your yard and their uses. We'll be right back. Hello, and we are back. Let's dive right back into our own backyard medicine cabinet. How much of what you do is dried versus fresh?
I think I do dandelions in a fresh infusion because they're so plentiful. So I do those I do fresh dandelions in infusion for my soap, but I do dried dandelion infusion for my salve. And then the jewelweed, you have to do jewelweed fresh just to keep that good juiciness of it.
Now, going back to another topic, when we were talking about the jewelweeds, you have a Jewelweed and Plantain salve. I believe you have it here today.
I do.
So people don't know this. Plantain, we are not talking about the bananas. We are talking about broadleaf plantain, which is the big flat leaf that is pretty much in all of our backyards. So go ahead, and I believe you have an example here if you want to show us.
I do. So I think everybody would probably recognize this plant. They're large, egg-shaped leaves, and they'll have 3 to 7 parallel vertical lines. And if you rip them, they kind of have this elasticy thread. And I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, we can kind of make it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it has this thin elasticy thread inside, so you know that it's plantain. But plantain has allantoins in it, and allantoins are like the jewel of tissue regeneration. So it helps speed healing, and it helps with that tissue regeneration. They used to use them in poultices, even during the Civil War, because plantain, you can find it anywhere. And so they would chew it up, make it into a poultice, pack it in. It helps stop bleeding, and it also speeds healing.
Is it only the broadleaf plantain that you use? There's also like the longleaf plantain that, to identify this one, it almost looks like a miniature cattail crumbing up in your yard.
True. I don't find the narrow leaf plantain as abundant as I find the broadleaf plantain. It's easier to find. So I use what I find, and I don't need to look for something.
That makes sense.
But they have the same properties. So if that's what you have, you can use it.
Now, for people who might treat their yards, or if you're a renter without much of a yard space, where can they go to find some of these ingredients?
So public parks, where that they're not treating. And we have a number of public parks in the area. And that's where I go for a lot of my foraging, is to a public park. I foraged last night in my public park, and I found plantain, jewelweed. I found multiflora, which in the fall, I'll go and collect rose hips from that. And I found red clover there as well. And I know that also I'll be able to find goldenrod there in the fall.
That's a good spot you have there. I get what I can in my yard, but I try to go to the front because, if you have animals in your backyard, another important thing to mention, if your dogs are out using the bathroom in your backyard, I wouldn't forage there.
Right. And you just want to make sure that you're not foraging somewhere where they're using chemicals. So,
yes.
And these plants probably wouldn't grow if they were using chemicals.
Yes, you definitely. What do you do to clean the plants once you forage them?
So when I bring them home, I wash all of them, and I rinse them all first, and then I fill the sink again, and I put a little bit of vinegar in there with them, wash them, let them air dry in a colander, kind of spin them out, and then I have a drying rack that I put them on a drying rack, and they just sit until they're good and ready.
Absolutely. Now, another one of the plants you have here that you foraged yesterday is the red clover. I only knew of red clover up until today as a treat that I used to give my rabbits when I was growing up. But it turns out there's some more properties. So go ahead and tell me a little bit about what you use that for.
So red clover is a wild legume, and it's rich in isoflavones, which have a plant estrogen in them. And that plant estrogen is great for boosting collagen production. It helps counteract dryness and dullness. It improves the elasticity of the skin. It also helps reduce inflammation. So my story behind why I make a red clover salve is that my sister gets plaque psoriasis on the front of her shin. And my brother had a farm, and he has all kinds of red clover everywhere and no cows to eat it. And so I was trying to figure out how I could help my sister and what I could do with the red clover, and it just kind of all came together because she started using the product that I made, and the plaque psoriasis has since disappeared.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, I caught you a week or so ago at Pollinator Palooza where you were selling the products, and I know you had a lot of other vendor events coming up too. How often do you see people that are repeat customers? Like, I bought this product, it really worked for me, and I need more.
For sure. It makes my heart so happy to say that I have repeat customers, and I have customers that want to share my products with their friends. I've been I've been posting and shipping to Texas, to Tennessee, to New York, because people want to share the products with their friends. I did one of the Youngstown fleas, I think in February or March, and I just had 3 very good friends, and they said, and I was on Main Street in Columbiana this past Saturday, and they said, "You're the whole reason that we came today." So, and they came from McDonald to Columbiana, and then the very next day, I got a message from one of those same ladies who said, "I have buyer's remorse because I didn't buy enough of your product." And so she ordered 4 more things that her friends had bought, and they couldn't get over how well they worked for them, and they wanted her to get them to try them too.
That's a really amazing response.
Yeah.
How unique do you find your products?
I feel like what I do, I have specific moral and ethical rules or codes that I follow. Like, I won't use certain oils. I won't use palm oil in my products. I won't use, I only use essential oils, and I won't use chemically created fragrance oils. I use organic oils and organic butters. I know what I'm foraging for. I know how I create my products. They're all done with love. And the whole reason I did this was a ministry to help other people, because we all struggled. Everyone in my family struggled with skin issues. And once we switched to all natural products, all of our problems started to go away. And so I wanted to share what I could do with other people. That was really important to me.
That's a really amazing story. It's always the things like this that you have a personal reason that drives you. And the more you learn, once you have the incentive and you share it out, you get some really amazing things that happen. And the connections you build are something that you never forget. Now, another one of the products you have here today, I asked you about it when you first came in, is you had a big jar, and as you were talking to me, we were having our conversation, I just kept looking at the jar, and I'm like, what kind of treats do you have? So share with the audience what you have in your jar. It's something that they might not expect.
Right. So this is my jar, and those are rose hips. So I wanted to bring products that I could share, that I could show you kind of what things look like, but you can't actually get rose hips right now. They're not in season. But rose hips grow on Multiflora, which it's very pokey. Looks like this. And you'll see this growing again all over the place right now in wild places. So after all the petals fall off of the plant, then the fruit produces, just like a strawberry, just like a cucumber, right? This is going to produce a fruit, and that fruit is the rose hip. And rose hips are packed with vitamins A, C, E, and antioxidants and essential fatty acids, and they do all kinds of great things for our skin. Assist with collagen synthesis, cell regeneration, hyperpigmentation, reducing inflammation, and improving skin elasticity. So they help with all of those things.
Now, this might be a little bit of a silly question. So I have just a yellow rose bush at home, and it gets, it's more sizable than what you have, but it's like orangey. Is that the same thing for all the rose bush, or is it that particular flower and variety that we are looking for that signals what you can have?
For when I'm harvesting, I need to harvest a lot, and so I go where I know I'm going to find a lot. Those commercial ones, and you need to watch, like, what are you feeding it? Are you feeding it chemicals?
It gets rainwater.
Grow?
Nope,
okay.
I do nothing to it.
Right. So because anything that absorbs through the roots is going to be in the fruit, right? So we want to make sure that what we're putting into our bodies is as clean as possible. And so, yeah, you're going to get rose hips on there. You might get enough rose hips for a cup of tea, and it'll be lovely.
Awesome. I just didn't know if it was like a particular variety of roses or plant that did better, but as long as it's fed clean, then it feeds you clean in return.
Right. Yeah. And you're going to look for if you're harvesting rose hips, you want to look for, it has like a belly button on the bottom of it, and it has these little hairs that come out, right? So you want to look for those to make sure that that's the same thing.
Absolutely. We have to take another quick break, but we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Thank you for joining us again. Let's dive right back into our conversation. Now, on our list, we are almost done. We have one more plant to talk about, dandelions. It is either the bane of your existence or something that is sought after by people like you. So explain a little bit why.
So dandelions are they're like the super plant because they have all the things. You can eat them, you can drink, you can make drinks from them, you can make tea, you can make wine. They're full of vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin K. They have magnesium, calcium, iron, potassium. They're a superfood, and they have so many health benefits for you. Specifically for your skin, they're antibacterial, they're antimicrobial, and they're also a natural analgesic. So an analgesic is something that assists with like blocking pain.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. So they have phytochemicals in them that block the overactive inflammatory response of when you get hurt. So you can, if you have a sore muscle, ache, or pain, you can get a dandelion infused salve and rub it in. So it has the analgesic power, but also by massaging it into that area, you're increasing blood circulation to that area, which in turn assists with speeding healing.
Dandelions get a really bad rep for doing all of that. Let me tell you. When you're doing this, what part of the plant do you use? Because I've heard different things of like dandelion honey that you just use like the petals of the flower. I've heard people use the leaves in salads, that people eat the roots and they kind of saute them up. So what parts do you use?
I typically use the head and the stem. I typically don't use the leaves or the roots for my products. For me personally, I can get dandelion roots and clean them and roast them and make a tea. But not in my products. I just use the stems and the heads.
Now on to your products. You have some here today. So talk about some of the main things you have. One of the things that we talked about at Pollinator Palooza that is just so cool that I'm bringing up again is your pair of the Plantain and the aloe soap that you have.
So I do Jewelweed and Plantain soap. So we know that poison rashes they hurt, right?
So they're very bad.
Yeah, they're uncomfortable. So the Jewelweed is going to help like draw out all of the bad stuff, wash away the bad stuff, help dry up, and then the Plantain helps with the pain. And then I also do a Jewelweed salve that you can use afterwards to assist in healing.
So what do you use in the salve? I'm not asking for your secret recipe here, but what is kind of the base of it?
So the Jewelweed salve has olive oil, grapeseed oil, sunflower oil, and then our farm beeswax.
So that's really cool. You have a lot of different uses. A lot of people think bees are good for honey, but the wax is what you use. And how many of your products is it the base of?
Oh, a lot. I have lotion bars. I have 2 different kinds of lip balms. I have 4 or 5 different salves that I do. I also do some tallow products, and I put beeswax in there as well. Beeswax is like, how they say like honey is the superfood? Beeswax is too. So not only is it consumable, not that we want to consume it, but it's antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal. It's all the things because it's protecting the bee larva inside the hives. So in order to protect the larva, it has to be all those things. And then we get all that goodness afterwards.
What would you say to someone who wants to get started, either just with the plants themselves or turning them into something more like you have?
Talk to me. Do your research, right? Go find someone to support you. You want to go forage with me? Give me a call. Let's go. But I think that just a lot of research behind it and finding good quality products, because I don't use beeswax from Amazon. You know, I'm using what I know is good and has the good stuff that I want to put on my body. And I'm not going to put something on your body that I wouldn't put on my own body.
Now, when it comes to using products like that, because they have the artificial things in them, they generally have a longer shelf life because of those things. So, what is the shelf life on your products?
So typically, if olive oil is good for 12 months, then my product is good for 12 months.
All right. Anything else you want to say to people? Anything else that's important to mention?
But I will tell you a story about a tortoise named Boris. All of my kids did 4-H. And when my son was 10, he decided that he was done with hamsters and he was ready to step up to a sturdier animal. And so we adopted a Russian tortoise that was already about 5 or 6 years old. We're not sure how old it was when we got him. And when we got the tortoise, the owner of the store told us only to wash him with water or baby soap, and never to use any other products on him, and never to put a shell shiner on his shell, even when we were showing for 4-H. Don't do any of that, because it could make him sick. And I started thinking that if the chemicals in soap or the chemicals in a shell shine could get through that hard shell of a tortoise and make him sick, what are we doing to ourselves with all the chemicals that we don't know that we're putting on our bodies from these products that we're purchasing?
That's neat. It makes a very good point of, if it's not safe for animals, why would humans use it?
Right.
All right. But I thank you very much for joining us today. This has been a Let's Grow episode about what you can find in your own backyard and how to use it. We'll see you next time.